Hello. Incompetent, go stand outside for 5 hours. Our manager Charles abruptly snapped at me. Charles was pressuring me not to take part in the presentation of a new product that we were doing in a big event hall today. I was instructed to wait in this enormous parking lot. You know, it's good for strengthening endurance. Oh, and you can jog a little if you'd like. I'd just begun jogging, so that was obviously a jab at me. This presentation might result in a $20 million deal if it is successful. Charles wanted all the praise to go to him. Why in the world am I working for someone like him? I felt completely lost after being abandoned. Then, though, I heard a call. Henry, the CEO of Company ABC, one of our most important clients, was there. All our contracts with you are terminated. Henry said after hearing what had transpired, going into the venue and looking for Charles. What? Charles's face went white. Only then did he realize how serious his error had been. William Parker is my name. Despite my hard work, I am a 40-year-old regular employee who hasn't been able to move up the corporate ladder. Maybe I haven't been promoted because I'm not that strong. I've been weak all my life. I have frequently missed school since I was a child because of illness. I had several surgeries because of a heart problem I had from birth. However, I'm completely well now. I will always be grateful to my parents for raising me and supporting me over the years. I set out to work hard in my studies and get a solid job because I wanted to pay them back. I relocated to Chicago and began living alone after receiving my college acceptance. I joined Hamilton Company after graduating and looking for a career. This business, which produces parts for medical equipment, also deals with parts for thermometers and health scales, which are things I use to depend on. I was quite excited to work here because of this. But I discovered the reality once I joined. Those who were athletic and hard-driving thrived here. It was oppressive. I had to down a beer at the welcoming party shortly after I joined. I had never encountered this type of hazing in my liberal arts group in college, and I didn't expect to now that I'm an adult. The senior staff began encouraging me and gave me a beer mug. To stay awake around here, you need to drink this much. Hurry up and chug, chug. The senior managers only chuckled while observing. Drinking was my only option. I also threw up in a bathroom for the first time ever. The situation was the same for the other new hires. I became aware that I had joined a company that was a nightmare. However, it was too late. Back then, it was standard to stick it out for at least 3 years after joining a company, so I held on. Just like my fellow new hires, we figured we'd get used to it eventually. Some of us clicked with the senior staff and moved up the ladder quickly, but those who couldn't keep up or lacked stamina either quit or just endured. I was the latter, gritting my teeth and hanging in there. I didn't want to disappoint my parents by giving up over something like this. Even when overloaded with work or forced into pointless overtime, I just put my head down and focused on getting through it. Those teeth-clenching days continued, and before I knew it, I was 40. My days were still packed, leaving no time for a relationship. Now I'm in the sales department. Maybe they thought I was tough since I'd been here so long, so they assigned me to the most demanding department in the company. My current boss, Charles, is 3 years older than me. He joined 5 years ago, apparently a big shot from an Ivy League school, always brimming with enthusiasm. Unlike me, the perpetual low-ranking employee, he climbed to manager in no time and was always hard on me. Hey, William, you're driving for tomorrow's golf outing. Tomorrow? It's Saturday. I promised to take my dad to the hospital. You idiot. It's an important client meeting. Your old folks can wait. Probably just gonna be chatting with the doctor, right? My dad's had gout for years. Once a month, I take him to his appointments, an hour drive each way. I glared at Charles, wanting to tell him he didn't know a thing. But I couldn't defy him. I'd learned the hard way that defiance meant being forced to do 100 squats. Hey, Dad. Yeah, sorry. I can't take you this time. He laughed it off over the phone. It's all right. I'll just call a cab this time. How's your work, William? Yeah, it's okay. I could only respond weakly. I see. You're always working hard. Thank you. My parents, aware of how busy I was with work, always expressed their concern whenever we met. I wondered what I could do to ease their worries. I thought about switching jobs, but as a perpetually low-ranking employee, I worried I'd be undervalued in the job market and my income might drop. That hesitation kept me from taking the leap. So instead, I decided to focus on building my stamina to fit in better with the company's culture. These days, terms like metabolic syndrome felt a bit too relatable. I decided to start with light jogging. I bought running gear and shoes, starting by looking the part. I began with early morning runs at a large park nearby. Surprisingly, it felt pretty good. In the early morning, the park was filled with people walking their dogs or jogging like me. The air felt refreshing, and I enjoyed the satisfaction of working up a good sweat. While I hated meaningless exercises forced on me, moving for my own health felt satisfying. About a month into my early morning runs, someone caught my attention. There was a woman who ran at the same time as me. We'd pass each other in the park and exchange nods as jogging companions, and she was stunningly beautiful. Still, I thought if I came across as having ulterior motives, she'd avoid me, so I kept it to a friendly nod. Then one day, something happened. While running in the park as usual, I found her collapsed on the ground. She was unconscious but still breathing. I immediately called for an ambulance. Fortunately, her condition wasn't serious, it was just anemia. While waiting for her checkup, I anxiously stayed by her side. When she regained her composure, she shyly thanked me. "I'm so sorry for troubling you. I'm just glad you're okay." She introduced herself as Kate Summers. She said she was 29, but she looked even younger. Smiling, she warmly remarked, "I see you running here often. Actually, I've been curious about something." "What?" Her words made my heart skip a beat. "The music I always hear from your earbuds, it's from the British band B, isn't it? I'm a big fan too." "Wow, you know B. That's amazing for someone your age. That's why I wanted to talk to you sometime." It turned out we shared the same favorite band. We hit it off, talking enthusiastically about music. Then the sound of hurried footsteps interrupted us. "Kate, are you okay?" "Oh dear." Kate's father hurried over, clearly flustered. He was sweating, probably from worrying so much. "It's just anemia." "But Dad, what about your work?" "Don't worry. I told my assistant to handle things for now. I'm a freelancer, so it's fine for me. But your company is important." That's when Kate suddenly realized. "By the way, William, is your job okay?" "Oh, well, probably." I had notified the office that I'd be late because I was helping someone in need. It was the truth, and I wasn't ashamed of it, but I knew Charles wouldn't accept it. When I rushed to work after making sure Kate was okay, Charles was, as expected, furious. "William, what's the meaning of being 2 hours late?" I informed the office. "Sorry, but someone had collapsed." "Is that your job? Leave that to paramedics." Maybe he was right. Perhaps I had overstepped. But when I called the ambulance, Kate was still unconscious, and I couldn't help but worry. I knew what it was like to suffer from illness. I just wanted to make sure she was safe until the end. "I apologize. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." "Words aren't enough. Do 100 squats." "What?" I was taken aback by the sudden command. But Charles pointed to the wall and barked, "Do them over there. You can sit at your desk after you're done." "Yes, sir." With no choice, I faced the wall and started squatting. I could hear my coworkers snickering around me. That guy really doesn't get it, does he? No wonder he's stuck as a bottom-rung employee. I'd hate to end up like that. Only those who fit the mold remained in this company. The number of people looking down on me had increased significantly over the years. 23, 24, 25. Even as my body screamed in pain, I gritted my teeth and kept going. I wasn't going to let this break me. A few months later, Hamilton Company was buzzing with excitement like never before. We had been invited to a trade show featuring healthcare-related companies and manufacturers. While we attended every year, this time we were selected to participate in the new product presentation event during the show. Only a handful of companies got this chance, and the office was electric. Charles, chosen as the leader for the presentation, was bursting with energy, rallying the team with his booming voice. All right, listen up. This event, with so many international visitors, is one we absolutely must succeed in. The goal is $10 million. No, $20 million. The team for the new product presentation was assembled, mainly consisting of top talents from the sales and development departments. Surprisingly, my name was also on the list. I was tasked with creating the slideshow and structuring the presentation. You're good at preparing presentation materials, right? I'm counting on you. Yes. To think Charles would actually compliment me like that. Years of hard work sometimes do pay off. Moved by his words, I poured my heart and soul into planning the presentation flow and creating the slideshow. Looking back, I might have enjoyed my work the most during this time. I even found myself talking to Kate about work, which was rare for me. Wow, William, you're really capable. No, not at all. But this project is something I'm genuinely excited about. Do your best. During our early morning runs, I chat with Kate and recharge my energy. With that, I found my work more fulfilling than ever. But then, on the day of the event, disaster struck. I was driving a van to transport large booth props and product samples. After unloading everything and checking the items, I was about to enter the venue when Charles returned to the parking lot and called out to me. "Oh, you're fine staying here." "What?" "Just hand over the keys." Taking his belongings from the van, Charles turned his back on me. In a cold voice, he said, "Your job's done. Thanks for your effort." "What do you mean?" "Like I said, you're good at making materials. That's all we needed. We don't need you for the presentation." It felt like being hit in the head with a hammer. Surely, this can't be happening. Until the event ends, stand outside for 5 hours. Charles had no intention of letting me participate in the event. Toying with the van keys in his hand, he laughed. "Staying outside will help you build some stamina. Oh, and feel free to go for a little run if you want." It was clearly a jab at my newfound running habit. "Wait, I've worked so hard for this day. It's pointless. You don't even have a participant badge. Without this, you can't enter the venue." He showed me his badge holder hanging around his neck, and I was left stunned. "Without this, the security at the entrance won't let you in," Charles said with a smirk. After all the effort I put in for the presentation, left alone in the parking lot, I stood there, unable to move. Since Charles took the keys, I couldn't get into the car and had no choice but to wait outside. This area had nothing else around except for the event hall. As I stood there, stunned and dejected, someone suddenly called out to me from behind. 3 hours later. Finally, Hamilton Company's new product presentation began. When the company's name was announced, Charles walked up to the stage. I watched from the corner of the venue with someone beside me. Charles's presentation on stage was a disaster. He stammered, sweating profusely, unable to speak coherently. What happened to the overconfident attitude he had earlier? But this was entirely his own doing. He created the hostile atmosphere, so I didn't feel any obligation to help him. "Looks like it's over." Yes, I've never seen Charles like this before. The man, Henry Summers, the CEO of Company ABC and Kate's father, smiled warmly. People like him are surprisingly weak when it really matters. As a seasoned CEO, Henry exuded an air of confidence. When he smiled, I couldn't help but notice how much he resembled Kate, reminding me they were indeed father and daughter. The person who had approached me in the parking lot earlier was Henry. When I saw him, I was shocked. He was the same man I'd met at the hospital, Kate's father. Since Company ABC wasn't my client, I had no idea about this connection. What a coincidence. Company ABC was one of Hamilton Company's most important clients, contributing significantly to our revenue. Henry told me he had witnessed the interaction between Charles and me earlier. That was awful. Is your boss always like that? Yes. Embarrassed to have him witness such a shameful scene, I couldn't help but feel humiliated. But Henry gently placed a hand on my shoulder. I've heard about Hamilton Company's toxic culture before, but seeing it in person, it's not just unethical. It's straight-up harassment. It's hard to believe these are supposed to be professionals. It's really embarrassing. You don't have to feel ashamed. You're a good person, and you helped someone in need. His kind words caught me off guard, and I looked up to see his warm, encouraging expression. These days, it's rare to find someone who genuinely cares enough to help like that. As someone who's been a CEO for years, I can't just stand by when a person like you is being treated unfairly. Henry handed me an extra badge from Company ABC and escorted me inside. I entered with it and quietly observed Charles's actions, making sure not to be noticed by my coworkers. Henry approached Charles, who was busy preparing at the booth. From a distance, I could tell he was scolding Charles for how he had treated me earlier. Charles, caught off guard by the sudden reprimand, tried to laugh it off. Please, stay out of another company's business. I'm really busy right now. But don't you think that was far too much? Henry pressed Charles harder than I expected. Perhaps angered by this, Charles's tone grew harsher. Enough. Just get lost now. Oh? Is that how you treat a major client? For a moment, Charles froze, but it seemed he couldn't stop himself anymore. Knowing Charles's impulsive nature, once he got angry, I watched their exchange nervously. Without our parts, your company wouldn't even be able to make products. Don't forget that we're the ones supplying you. Charles had said something absolutely outrageous, speaking down to a client with such arrogance. Even someone as good-natured as Henry couldn't hide his anger. His expression hardened, and he replied in a cold voice. We're the ones supplying you, huh? That's quite the arrogant attitude, just as I'd expect from Hamilton Company. In that case, consider all future contracts canceled. What? Why are you so surprised? If you don't want to supply us, we'll simply end our dealings with your company. Suddenly, Charles's face turned pale. Then, he finally realized the other companies around him had been watching the entire exchange. So Hamilton Company put someone like that in charge? Treating a subordinate like that, it's practically middle school level bullying. Charles was overwhelmed by the mix of sneers and contemptuous looks directed his way. For the first time, he seemed to realize how others perceived him. Work in the business world is built on human connections. Who would want to work with an arrogant, condescending company? Hamilton Company's reputation had been tarnished, or rather, it had always been tarnished, but the brazen staff had been masking it with sheer bravado. However, when faced with someone genuinely dedicated to their work, their facade crumbled, just like Charles, now trembling and pale. Then came the new product presentation. Perhaps shaken by the earlier incident, Charles's heart wasn't in it. His voice lacked confidence, and his nervousness and anxiety were palpable. With that, the presentation I'd worked so hard on wouldn't resonate with the audience. All that effort I put into the materials, wasted. What? You made that presentation? Henry picked up on my muttered comment and looked at me in surprise. Yes, I worked hard on it for today, but there's nothing I can do now. I see. I feel bad for you. No, it's okay. Honestly, I feel a sense of closure now. Just having Henry's support was enough to lift my spirits. But Henry, looking apologetic, said quietly, "What about you? Won't this make things harder for you moving forward?" "It's nothing new. I'll endure it like always." When I answered, Henry gave a wry smile. "Your perseverance is both your strength and your weakness." "What?" "Listen, William. Don't pour your effort into the wrong place." With that, he pulled a notebook and pen from his jacket pocket and began writing something quickly. He tore off a sheet of paper and handed it to me firmly. "This is the phone number for our HR department. If you'd like, go ahead and schedule an interview." "What?" "Our team is strict, but I think you'll do just fine." With a reassuring pat on my shoulder, Henry walked away. I stood there, still staring blankly at the slip of paper. Switching jobs. It was something I had been considering for a long time, but I kept hesitating, thinking that someone like me, stuck as a low-level employee, wouldn't succeed anyway. Still, don't pour your effort into the wrong place. Henry's words echoed in my mind. 3 months later, I finally resigned from Hamilton Company. It had been difficult to get them to accept my resignation, but with advice from the Labor Standards Office, I managed to handle it smoothly. "You won't last anywhere else." I let his words go in one ear and out the other. If anything, my tolerance for pettiness had grown thanks to him. Besides, I had already proven him wrong. I had successfully passed the interview with Company ABC and secured my next job. News of my acceptance quickly reached Kate. As a familiar running companion, she congratulated me enthusiastically. "Oh, congrats. I can't believe you're going to be one of my dad's employees now." I was surprised, too. Life works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? Kate looked down slightly, a shadow crossing her face. "I met you first, but I guess some connections just aren't meant to be." "What?" "Oh, it's nothing." Finally, the day arrived for me to start at Company ABC. Instead of being placed in the sales department, I was assigned to the manufacturing department. There, I took on responsibility of creating documents and materials related to product data. In essence, I was in more an administrative role, but it seemed to suit me well. The documents I created gained a reputation for being easy to understand, and I became involved in producing various materials across the company. Since I used to work in sales, word spread that I could also create presentation materials, and soon, I had so many salespeople coming to me for advice that I could barely keep up with my own work. At the company's welcome party, I had the chance to speak with Henry, who praised me with a smile. "When I saw the presentation materials you made back then, I thought you'd be a great fit for this kind of work. Turns out your skills are even better than I imagined. You've been a huge help." "Well, Henry, lately, the sales team has been asking me for so much help that it's getting overwhelming." "That's a good problem to have. Why don't you host a workshop for the sales team on creating presentation materials?" I thought that was a great idea and decided to hold the workshop. The participants took it seriously and absorbed the material well. I'd never imagined that my hard work would bear fruit like this. It was around this time that I finally understood the meaning behind what Henry had told me back then. Don't pour your effort into the wrong place. That must have referred to things like this. Hamilton Company had forced me to endure pointless things like golf outings and endless squats in the name of team building. There was no way I could thrive in a company like that. The fact that I hadn't been promoted for so many years wasn't my fault. It was simply because I didn't align with the company's toxic culture. Now that I realized this, I was able to contribute meaningfully to those around me. It might have taken me a while to figure it out, but it's never too late to start fresh. I decided to keep giving my best effort moving forward. Seeing how much happier I was after switching jobs, my parents looked on with relief. Then, one day, I heard some rumors about Hamilton Company. Apparently, there had been a massive wave of resignations minus 50 employees in all. Mainly from the sales department, had left, dealing a significant blow to the company. Since our company no longer worked with Hamilton Company, we weren't affected. but the companies that still had contracts with them must have been in trouble. Orders they had expected to receive weren't fulfilled, and deadlines were missed. The mass resignations not only hurt Hamilton Company, but also had a ripple effect on other businesses. I had the chance to talk to Henry about this, and he shared his thoughts with a stern expression. You probably didn't know, but Hamilton Company's toxic culture was infamous in the industry. Harassment was rampant, and their employees' behavior wasn't just intimidating. I had my concerns, but since we had been working with them for so long, it was hard to make a clean break. But then he glanced at me and added, "Watching how they treated you helped me decide. If a company doesn't treat its people like people, it's not worth doing business with." Is that so? And as expected, a company that doesn't value its employees was ultimately abandoned by them. The responsibility fell heavily on their sales director. I wondered what was going to happen to him. Henry's words brought Charles' face to mind. Last I heard, he was still the sales director at Hamilton Company. How was he handling the aftermath of all this? The answer soon reached me through industry rumors. Charles had been forced to resign to take responsibility for the mass resignations. It was likely a decision made by the higher-ups, but forcing someone to resign in such a way still reflected poorly on the company. It only confirmed how flawed Hamilton Company's culture truly was. I had seen Charles on the platform of the station once. He wasn't in his usual suit but dressed casually, sitting on a bench and drinking in the middle of the day. Next to him was a crumpled job magazine. Just by looking at him, it was clear that things weren't going well. Charles was also probably someone who kept getting things wrong. If only he could have channeled that energy in the right direction. If only he hadn't put his effort into the wrong places. Surely, after all the things he'd done to me, I didn't have any words to offer him. I turned my back and quietly walked away. A few years later, I would hear that Hamilton Company had gone under. But at the time, I had no way of knowing. For now, I was able to start fresh, and for that, I couldn't thank Henry enough. There was also something else I wanted to thank him for, raising such a wonderful daughter. As usual, I had gone for a run before work, and afterward, Kate and I sat on a bench to take a break. Recently, we'd started bringing food for each other and having breakfast together. Today, I'd brought bagels, and she had a sandwich. As we were finishing our meal, Kate suddenly looked up at me and asked, "William, did you know there's an 80th anniversary event for B coming up? If you're interested, would you like to go with me?" I was startled by her sudden invitation. "Really? I'd love to go, but are you sure you want to go with me?" "Well, we're both fans, aren't we? And because I'd like to go with you." Kate's cheeks turned red as she said this. Could this be what they call a date? Maybe my springtime wasn't as far off as I thought. When I gave her a small nod, Kate beamed with a bright smile. "That's great. We'll just have to make sure my dad doesn't find out." "Wait, Henry?" "Yeah, he can be pretty strict about my relationships." Now that she mentioned it, Henry was the kind of man who would drop everything and rush to her side the moment she needed him. He clearly treasured his daughter. Am I about to get myself into something big? But with Kate smiling at me like that, I couldn't say no. Facing Henry someday would be inevitable, but for now, I decided to put that aside. I simply enjoyed laughing happily with Kate.